Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us for the Sustainability Series, our mini webinar series that explores conscious consumerism in e-commerce. In each episode, we'll be talking to a guest partner about how offering your customers a sustainable shopping experience can create community, inspire action, and drive loyalty. Now, to keep these episodes relatively quick and insightful, we don't hold any form of Q&A. However, if you do have any questions after this, please feel free to reach out to LoyaltyLion or today's guests using the hashtag sustainabilityseries and tweeting to LoyaltyLion HQ, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. So let's jump straight in. My name's Jack. I'm a tech partnership manager at LoyaltyLion, and I'm so excited to be joined by Giselle Waters from Shopify today. Giselle, thank you so much for being here.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here and chat sustainability.
Excellent, thank you. So we're going to get stuck into it relatively quickly with our first question, which is obviously Shopify does so much, but I'd like to focus on three key initiatives that Shopify has created to empower its merchants to become more sustainable. Which ones really stand out for you?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So I have so many to talk about, but I think the really key ones that come to mind are, first of all, Shop Pay. So that is our payment support that offers carbon neutral shipping. It's a product that allows merchants to really build customer loyalty through that streamlined checkout experience. And at the same time, it's helping build that carbon neutral shipping option in a really easy, seamless way where our merchants don't have to figure out all of the back end side of that. So that's really cool. Another one is our support through our offset app and just our general support on understanding the shipping logistics and carbon offsetting in general, as well as carbon capture. And so that lets merchants really understand their footprint and find reliable partners that can help them achieve carbon neutrality through offsets and capture. So we're really big on carbon capture, and that's something that we've been investing in a lot with our sustainability fund. And then the third one that I think is also just really crucial is our app store and our partner connections. So really finding supportive partners like LoyaltyLion and Sendable and all of these other wonderful products and integrations that help merchants find the right sustainable options for them and move at their own pace. So we really understand at Shopify that every e-commerce business is different. And in a lot of ways, when we're talking about sustainability in e-commerce, it can get very supply chain oriented, or we can be talking about packaging specifically, but there's a lot of different ways that businesses can move to be more sustainable. And we want to make sure that we're empowering all of those options for businesses of all sizes.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And it does sound, when we listen to the different promotions that we hear about from Shopify, and then just also the way the company positions itself, that sustainability is really on the forefront in terms of what you guys are thinking about and where you're going next. And that's, speaking as a tech partner, that's absolutely fantastic to see.
Yeah, it's really interesting because it's really driven by our merchants, right? We're a very part of our values, right? Being merchant obsessed. And so it's really important to us to see what are our merchants thinking about? What is the next thing that they need? And how can we support that? And so that's really kind of where we build our products in general, is just what do they need? Let's make it happen.
Perfect. And I guess with that in mind, something that maybe you were privy to and that you see quite a bit is there does seem to be this growing engagement from merchants globally to become more sustainable and to start looking for solutions. So again, it's so lovely to see that being facilitated. I think that's really interesting. And with that in mind, my next question for you is, can you think of any brand examples who are using Shopify currently who offer a sustainable shopping experience which does build customer loyalty? Any that spring to mind?
My gosh. I think everyone, to give you a blanket answer first, I think anyone who's using Shop Pay has that experience because of the Shop app experience that folks have through that. So they have a single check-in. They don't necessarily have to put in their payment information every time, facilitates easier checkout while they're also getting that carbon neutral shipping for free. And that's building that relationship with the merchant. But in terms of a really interesting one that we saw come out, I believe earlier this year, was Allbirds' Rerun program. And so this is their sort of move towards that circular regenerative economy, where they are actually taking lightly used shoes that people have had. Like Allbirds is this huge giant in footwear, but they're taking these lightly used shoes in at one of their stores and then giving customers a $20 credit towards a new purchase. And then through an app called Trove, they're reselling those shoes. So you see the circularity where instead of shoes going into a landfill or, customers having them sort of sitting around their houses when they're not using them, they have this way of facilitating like that circular economy so that folks can buy lightly used shoes for a little bit cheaper. And that customer who has decided that they want a new pair gets that $20 off to really facilitate, that resale and circular economy.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. One of the things that we talk about so much when it comes to LoyaltyLion is trying to make sure that every single aspect of your e-commerce business correlates to your brand ideologies. So if you are sustainable, but it can go further, right? If you are interested in social matters, whatever it may be, you want to make sure that every part of the shopping experience remind your customers that you have some ethics involved, and that especially if this is the thing that defines you in a very competitive marketplace, that you really stand behind your morality. So I completely concur with you. It's really, really interesting to see what Allbirds is doing, and a prime example. I love the idea of being able to have that circular logic built in to brand strategy, and it does make a big difference. And one of the things that we do at LoyaltyLion and we're working on right now is to also incentivize those sort of moments as well. So you want to make sure that not only will the customer feel good because they are, doing something which is good for the planet and good for sustainability in general, but also that there's an additional benefit for doing it as well. So love that answer. That was really, really interesting. And one thing that I'm a little bit curious to get your thoughts on is that obviously there's a lot to think about here. And sometimes perhaps it can seem a little bit overwhelming for a merchant when there are so many different options out there. So for a small merchant, medium merchant, when they are thinking about building sustainability into their existing brand positioning or narrative, what sort of strategy would you recommend?
Oh my gosh, this is like my favorite question, Jack. So I am a really big believer in just really going back to your brand values and figuring out how to sort of extrapolate them into sustainability initiatives and really using like, what do you care about? What do your customers care about? And how can you connect that back to a sustainability initiative? I think when we're talking about sustainability, so often we're talking about environmental sustainability, but we really need to look at it with an intersectional lens. And so that includes social justice, that includes governance, that includes the way that you're interacting with your customers. I am a big B Corp believer, having come from a B Corp agency previously and having worked with so many wonderful B Corp merchants at Shopify, as well as 1% for the Planet and Carbon Neutral Certified. There are all these wonderful certification options that can kind of help support that mission. But I think that going back to your brand values is always the right place to begin, because that's going to be what's felt really clearly with your customers, as well as with your own internal teams and throughout your process. So really, what does impact look like for you in terms of environmental and social governance? What does that strategy look like? How do your values connect back to these different environmental factors? And then by including sort of like your team's personal values, your customers' values, and your business values all together, then you'll be able to create that synergy and momentum around initiatives, hosting a brainstorm, thinking about like, what is the impact we can make both for our customers and for our team. I don't know. I'm a big brand values person. I will also plug Brene Brown's work around values and Dare to Lead. I think that's an exercise that every team can really just benefit from on the sustainability side as well, in terms of just understanding how their values move into that sustainability space.
That's really interesting. One thing that you said, which I absolutely loved, was aligning kind of your brand mission statement when it comes to this environmental, sustainable, or just progressive impact to not only your values or your team values, but also your customer values. I think sometimes what happens is brands become maybe a little daunted by the idea of asking their merchants or asking the community that they've built their opinion on these sort of things. So one thing that I would really stress is when you are going to start mapping these out, don't be afraid to ask those questions. It goes a long way, in my opinion.
Yeah, and people love to talk about it too. And there are easy ways for you to reach out to folks, even if that's through an email or a social media poll, like as simple as putting out like an Instagram stories poll about like, okay, which of these issues are the most important to you? Or like, where would you like to focus your energy? Are you thinking about volunteering in one of these areas? There are all these different ways that you can garner that information from your customers without it feeling like salesy or disingenuine. Like it's really about building connection. And I think that when you build connection with your customers, that's where you go from having customers to having an audience to having, I don't know, I always feel like careful about using the word evangelical, but like having those sort of evangelical fans who are just like really those customer advocates for your brand and who are going out and really like being ambassadors within their communities. So that's something where you can find that alignment and like, again, really just build that loyalty program over time.
Absolutely. I mean, you took the words out of my mouth at the end there, but loyalty plays into it, right? We want the businesses we work with to really be engaging on sustainability, but at the bottom line, they are still merchants, and you've got to think about margin, you've got to think about profitability, and one of the ways you do that is with customer retention. So loyalty and retention go hand in hand. So again, fabulous answer. Thank you so much. Okay, well, I think that is all we have time for today. But Giselle, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure chatting with you today. I've really, really enjoyed it. And for our merchants and everyone else that is listening here today, where should they go to find out more about yourself and about Shopify's great initiatives?
Oh, well, you can definitely just connect with me on LinkedIn. It's just Giselle Waters. Really pretty easy to find. I'm storytelling at Shopify. And in terms of climate, definitely check out shopify.com/climate. You can see all about our sustainability fund, as well as how all of our products connect back to that sustainable strategy, and just read more and see what's happening.
Amazing. Thank you. Okay, well, that brings us to the end of this episode of the Sustainability series. I hope you all found it valuable and have been left with some great ideas and insights. As always, we will be sharing these on-demand recordings, so do not worry if you feel you may have missed something. And lastly, a big thank you to Giselle. Thank you so much for being today's speaker. We really, really appreciate it. And again, just a reminder to our listeners today that if you have any questions for myself or for Shopify, feel free to tweet us using the hashtag Sustainability series or to get in touch via our respective websites. Have a great day.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jack.